An interview with Amanda Overton just dropped with Polygon, and if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend you do. And while I will certainly go ahead and say that a lot of the things that she talks about in that interview aren't exactly news to me, and might not be to you if you've been watching my videos, some of the things do clarify things that I hadn't considered as part of my views, and I want to point out some of them. I think the one that I find the most striking is the way that Amanda Overton views Maddie and her place in the story. Because for me, there were things that I understood about Maddie and then things that I didn't know about Maddie. I always understood her place in the narrative, right? It was very clear what she was there to do. I always understood her place as a counterfoil to Vi, and I always understood her place as this way to show Caitlyn the lover versus Caitlyn someone with a need. As it turns out, Amanda Overton saw Maddie as important because she also represented the Gilded Kiramman cage. I'm going to go ahead and read you the quote from the article. It says, this is about Caitlyn. She had to kind of step up and be the Kiramman her mom thought she was, and what does that look like? Is she going to be the good daughter, the leader of Piltover? And even for me, I thought of it as, is she going to date someone her mom would approve of? So that was why the Maddie character was really important to me, to kind of have her really look at all parts of her life and see, could I be the Kiramman my mom wanted me to be, or am I going to find my own version of that? That's so brilliant. That's brilliant. I've already talked a lot about like the weight of the Kiramman name and the Gilded Cage of Caitlyn. I haven't really talked about it in terms of her relationship to her mother while she was alive. And I don't think it's like too much of a stretch to say that we would all generally agree that Cassandra probably wouldn't have been the most approving parent of Caitlyn and Vi dating. And yet at the same time is not the kind of mother to like forbid it based on class reasons or Zaunite Piltover shit, right? This is in fact emphasized in the last conversation that Cassandra and Caitlyn have, or at least the nonverbal one. After Vi leaves the council meeting, Caitlyn looks to her mother and her mother looks after Vi and just gives Caitlyn a nod. A tacit approval. The weight of her mother's dying makes Caitlyn go through all these processes of, have I been wrong my whole life? Have I made the wrong choices? Was my mother right after all? Enter upstanding junior officer Maddie Nolan. There's this like weird analogic irony in Maddie almost being like a Piltover beard. Like, it makes sense to me in this screwed up kind of way that the eyes of Piltover high society would see a Kiramman with an enforcer, an officer nonetheless, as something that is both good and wanted and desirable. Which would also help explain why Ambessa would choose Maddie or activate Maddie or whatever she did to get Maddie on her side. Honestly, that's not important at all, but she would still pick Maddie because of her position. And it makes Caitlyn's last action as a Kiramman council member, the appointment of Savika as the counselor of Zaun, it makes it all the sweeter. Because no one is saying that that solves the problems between Piltover and Zaun, like not by a long shot. But it is Caitlyn Kiramman rejecting with her whole chest the way things have been. It is the full action of burning that bridge, and it is the full action of taking control of her own life again. Okay, this one was kind of short as it turned out, but I've got an Easter egg from this interview that I want to read you. And I just want to say there are a lot of things in this interview that my friend and I were like talking about as we were writing before these episodes dropped, and we were just like, yeah, okay, we kind of have the bead. We have the inside track on their brains. This last paragraph in the interview is about putting together the scene of Kate and Vi in the bunker, and you need to read the whole interview. You really do, because there's a lot of context, but I just want to read this to you. The question was, what were the things you were putting in the script, and how many of those made it to the screen? And the first sentence is, Vi needed to be the first one to grab Caitlyn and kiss her, because she was answering the question finally of, what do I want with my life? And there's a bit more, and then it continues. And I think we sort of had seen the romantic part of their relationship before, and this was the culmination of all of those unsaid subtextual things again. But now they're saying them through actions. Women of action, whose arcs resolve with the choice of what they want to do with their lives. God, yes!